Welcome to Mindfully Integrative Podcast with your host, Dr. Damaris G. Mindfully Integrative is a podcast discussing ways toward mindfully incorporating integrative health into our lives. This podcast will have informative resources, fun topics, interviews, and discussions relatable for today with a true mindful perspective in a mind-body, holistic life approach.
Hi, how are you? This is Dr. Damaris Maria Grossman, and thank you again for joining in on this Mindfully Integrative show. And today's mindful chat is with Paulishia Augillard. She is a clinical professional counselor. She specializes in marriage and family counseling, but she has an array of things to discuss with you and how she incorporates integrative health and different ways to better her clients and herself. So thank you so much for joining in today.
Thank you so much. I'm very excited to be here.
So how do you go by Paulishia, right?
Paulishia, yes.
Yeah. And I know on your website you have Polly. But
yes. Interesting story about that. I'd love to share that.
I would love for you to share that. Yeah. Talk to me about the Polly in your website, and then a little fun fact about yourself.
Yeah. So Polly was a nickname of mine. And when I was younger, people would make fun of my name. They would say, Paulishia, Paul, like it was difficult to pronounce. So people would start to say Polly, and they would say like, Polly want a cracker. Da, da, da. And so I would go home, just in tears with my mom, like, why did you name me this name? Nobody can pronounce it and everything. And so, it wasn't until I got older and went into my own business that I said, I'm going to use that name as an inspiration for myself in terms of being picked on. And so Polly just morphed into Poly Clinical Services because that's what people call me. That's who they know me as. So yeah, that's the story about how I sort of, became Poly Clinical Services. And I always look back on that. And, when I'm talking to clients, especially children, now I've worked with all populations, but especially children, talking about how, being picked on and bullied about a specific thing, how you can turn that around to your benefit. And so Polyclinical Services has definitely been a turnaround for me in my life.
I love that. I remember having my own, nickname as a kid, and you're like, oh no, call me by this now. Call me. And I had the same issue. Nobody knew how to say Damaris. It was Demetris, Dolores, anything you could think of. And so now I'm reading your name like, oh my gosh, I can see where you always had that issue, but it's like, it's a beautiful name. So I understand. So, what is like a little small fun fact that, I was just kind of asked about you that people may not know?
A fun fact about me. So outside of, doing counseling and all of that great stuff, I'm a singer. I love to sing. I've been a worship leader for many years prior to COVID. So that is something. I come from a musical family. My dad's side of the family, they had like a professional recording musical group when he was younger. And so it just sort of passes down to generations. So now my children are very musically talented. My oldest son is a producer. My daughter is getting ready to graduate high school, and she loves to play the guitar. And then my son, who this is his first year in college, he is very musically inclined too. So just something that I love to share, like outside of what I do, that is something that I love to do, is to sing.
My husband's family, I would say that I'm like, okay, but not great. But my husband's family is very musically inclined, and he plays guitar, and their family is very, spiritual. They were spiritual, and church, and had a lot of that started then. And my husband plays, and he's playing to the baby, like to our toddler, and like, I'm like, I hope he gets that gene, at least a little singing. But yeah, that's cool. That's really cool. Yes. What's your, what do you love to sing? What do you enjoy singing? Are you singing gospel?
Yes, I love, and I'm a worshiper by nature. So I love all types of music, but really when you ask, spiritual music, that's my foundation. So that's where I like to pour a lot of, my emotions and feelings into. Yes, definitely.
Oh, that's amazing. I love it. So I really appreciate you being on this show and podcast. And I would love for you to discuss and just with the audience and those watching, kind of where you came from in the sense of not just in your clinical background, but how you kind of transitioned in this. You can talk about your previous story of where, to become a counselor and then where it transitioned into this integrative approach, as I call it, or this mindful way.
Sure. So I think as a young child, I always knew that I wanted to be a counselor. I was always told that I was an old soul, like adults at my young age would come and talk to me about their problems. And a 12-year-old, of course, I didn't know, but I was always a good listening ear. And so people would always assume that I was older than I really was at that time. And so, going through my adolescent years, I had some difficulty, and I actually started going to a psychologist who was wonderful in helping me to see myself and to find myself during that period of time in my life. So I was like, man, that would be so cool to go and to be a counselor, a psychologist, which is still a great goal of mine. That is something that I'm working towards. And so, fast forward until adulthood, I knew that I wanted to be on the counseling track. Getting out of school, I worked with mental health. I've been in mental health for over 20 years, and have always, been in a leadership role, but very creative, can come up with something at the drop of a hat. And so one day I thought, hey, I'm tired of making other companies, agencies money. What about my own dream? What about my own goals to help those that I'm really passionate about? And so that is where, becoming an entrepreneur, I've been in private practice for 4 years. So becoming a private, thank you. Becoming that entrepreneur has really been interesting. It's been fun. It's been challenging. It's been all of those different things that you can name. But that's sort of how I got transition from one thing to another. And one of the things that I like to share about myself is what I went through, even as I started rearing my own children, is I went through postpartum depression. And so something that I really say that is unique about me is because I've been on the other side of the couch. So I understand what it feels like to go and open up yourself when your family has sort of taught you, hey, you keep things quiet in your family. You keep things there, it's hush hush. You don't need to go out and say what it is. But that integrative and healing approach that I have taken to, I think has been very freeing for me. And it helps me to help other people to be authentically who they are.
I can definitely hear it in your voice when you're talking about it. And how, for you, what aspects did you use? And then let's talk further with patients and clients.
Yeah. So when you say what aspects did I use, do you mean in terms of healing or self-care?
Or for yourself. So those are all would be components. So for you with your postpartum depression, obviously you had to go get treatment.
Yes.
But what was the helping factor to get you through it?
Yeah. So I am a person, as you are, as I read your bio and how amazing you are, wear a lot of hats. And oftentimes women, we have multiple roles. We take care of the children. We have to work outside of the home. And so there's a lot of things that people look up to me for. So during that time, that I had my daughter, I wasn't really taking care of myself the way that I should. I was showing up for everybody else, but not showing up for myself. And so it wasn't until my husband told me, hey, something is really off. Like you're not into the things that you used to be into, things that would, you would find joyful, and you sort of just stay off to yourself. Cause I would work all of these hours and I would come home and go into the room. I wouldn't want to be bothered.
Yeah.
So, it took me, I'll say, through prayer and just really understanding, listen, if I want to continue down this road, I can't just cave to what it is that I'm experiencing. So that is what got me into reaching out to see a therapist. And once I did that, Damaris, it was like phenomenal. That really opened me up, going and just talking and letting some of the weight off of my shoulders, and being able to just leave it there. It was just like it just like a light bulb went off, and that's what we really want as therapists, is for that light bulb to go off. Yeah.
So you were able to kind of talk to someone, but in addition, you brought other aspects for yourself. You did self-care techniques, and now you're working with patients and clients, and you have your own practice. How does that connect with your clients, and what would you be able to share a story of what you're working, like, someone you've worked with, or something that you've done, techniques to help them?
So, with postpartum depression, that is something, if I see, and I have seen clients that come in and that are depressed, they're not feeling, upbeat. They're having a lot of challenges that they don't really know how to deal with. And so I believe me sharing the story of how I came to where I am with them, it sort of helps the client to relax. And I have the ability, because I'm an empath, I'm a healer. So I have the ability to see past what people present. They can come and we do that. We put masks on and we smile and we do all of the things. So we keep people out. We don't want people to know what's going on inside, but I'm very like spirit. I can feel what that person might be experiencing. So sharing my story allows the client to relax. And then, once they're able to release, that is the turning point. Oftentimes when clients come in and they have all of this that's bottled up on the inside, it's picking up on their energy. It's only one question that I'll ask. And once they start crying, then I know that that's their healing. That's their breakthrough. And that's so phenomenal. So, something else that I will say is that a lot of clients come in and they don't want to necessarily try medication. A lot of clients are against that. So they're looking for something that's a little bit more natural. Right. And dealing with depression and anxiety and stress. And so, of course, talking to them about eating right and, getting enough sleep and things like that. But then also naturally what you can do on a daily basis. It's in your habits. It's in what you do on a day basis. It's what you tell yourself about yourself. And so if you get up with, oh my God, this day is just going to go really bad. I have all these things to do. How am I going to get it done? You're putting it out in the atmosphere, how that day is going to go for you. But if you wake up, and I'm not saying that you're not going to necessarily feel like it, but if you begin to practice speaking those positive things about you to you, then that triggers something. I can't really explain it, but it's like it
manifests. Affirmations. You're talking personal development. You're discussing with yourself. You're going to have a good day. I will forthright tell you, I use that very regularly. As a new mom of a 1-year-old and not getting much sleep, I have to have that conversation more often. Yes, you're going to have a good day. You only got 3 hours. We're going to have a good day. It's going to be positive. So yes, you are 100% correct. Some days are not always perfect, but having that positive talk that's tough for people. There's so much negativity in the world. We don't give ourselves enough self-love, right?
Yeah, definitely. And, I think that if we would continue, I shouldn't say start, if we would continue to normalize mental health as the whole thing, mind, body, and spirit, and not just one section. Like when you think mental, a lot of people think, okay, there's something wrong with me. And so they shy away from it. But if you think about it as if my mind is not right, those positive affirmations that you're talking about, if I'm thinking negatively to myself, then that's going to transfer into my body. My body is going to tell what's actually going on, whether it be I can't sleep, whether it be, that my mood is affected. And your spirit, if you're not doing something that you really love at the end of the day to put back in yourself from what you give out to others, right, then something goes off. And so that is where I really like to focus and help clients to feel their best, because that's what I do. And so, it's been a blessing to work for me. And I don't say that it's a technique, it's a lifestyle.
No, I love that. I love what you're saying there. I mean, the thing is people I appreciate you talking about the stigma free of mental health, because I think that we've been talking about it more, of course, recently because of the pandemic and trying to get rid of the negative stigma of it. But I think it's just I come across patients all the time with some sort of anxiety, depression, or something. And I would say everybody across the world has some sort of, spectrum of it. Now It's just a matter of what are they doing? What's That's going to help them. And like you said, not every patient needs medication.
Yes.
Or they may, but they need medication plus, or this, and that. So there's not a one size fits all,
Yes, that's right.
I love that you said lifestyle, because I think that, what we do in our daily life is a direct effect of how we feel. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Would you like to share, well, I don't want you to talk about clients per se directly. So, but a small tip that you'd like to share with the audience that you've used for one of your patients or clients?
So for me, it's always about positivity. So one of the things that I'll always say is to drop the thing that no longer serves you. Oftentimes, because we're taught specific things and we carry that, right? And we carry it. And if it no longer works for you, then it's time to do something different. Because if you're doing the same thing, but you're getting no results, then what is that? We say that that's insanity. So if you are finding yourself where, because I work with physicians during self-care, and there's a lot of weight and things that comes along with that, a lot of pressure. If you are a person that hasn't established healthy boundaries, or you're having difficulty with trying to be a person that pleases everybody, letting that go and not carrying the weight of the world on your shoulders. I think sometimes just giving yourself permission to say, you know what, there's nothing I can do about this specific thing at this specific moment. And if we would learn to go with the flow instead of fighting against it a lot of times, because we try to control what's going to happen, what that outcome is, you would get a lot of more of what you want. And I think that that's really the secret sauce when you talk about just being authentic and healthy, is stop trying to fight against what is naturally going to occur, what's naturally going to happen, and give yourself permission to not know all of the answers. Because you're not meant to know all of the answers. It's not for you to, we get into this mode, especially as healers, to diagnose, to treat, and to have those conversations to help others, but we don't take the same for ourselves. We don't prescribe for ourselves the things that we're telling others to do. And so I would just say today to give yourself permission to release some of those negative thoughts, labels, titles, things that you carry that's prohibiting you from seeing you and being free in your own spirit.
I love that. No, you're 100% correct. Not us. When we don't take care of ourselves, it comes directly out. It's like a daily practice, right? I always say it's a work in progress every day.
Yes.
But being okay with your, I always say it's be kind, be kind to yourself,
be kind to yourself,
because you never know it's going to come up. Some things come up, and some days are good, and some days, I would say most of the time I feel pretty blessed, but like you said, on those rough days, change the thought you're saying and be more positive.
Yes.
People are like, oh, no, but I think your words mean and have a direct effect on the way things will be. It's
That's
a
right.
energy and a vibrant, what's it? Vibration.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
So, how can those that are watching and those that are listening, how can they reach you? Because I know you have a website and I'm
Yes.
going to have information in the show notes, but how can they reach you? And is anything coming up that you'd like to share?
Sure. So you can definitely reach me at info@polyclinicalservices.com. That goes directly to me. And you can follow me. I'm on social media. So Facebook at Transforming from the Inside Out. You can follow me there. Or on Instagram, you can follow me at Augillard. So I'm always putting, helpful resources of no cost to people just to, get them in that positive mind set. And, as far as projects, I'm so excited. I'm launching the Restore Zone Academy because I specialize in working with physicians and frontline workers. This is an online academy that physicians can take advantage of. We're actually going through an accreditation process to get to become where you can get continuing education. So what I'm hoping for is that eventually, with medical associations and getting the word out there, that will be the hub for physicians to come and not only have a safe space to get the resources that they need, but also to get those continuing education.
Love it. That sounds amazing.
Yes.
Yeah, you can use it for, an array of continuing education. Maybe for us nurse practitioners too.
Yes. And I didn't tell you, but to get more information about that, you can go to www.physiciansrestored.com.
Cool. Yeah. All right. We'll have that in the show notes too, so that those can reach you. I appreciate you being on today. And I think that you have an array of things for people to share. And I look forward to, also you have a book that you've written, correct?
Yes.
Would you like to talk a little bit about that before we go?
Yes. I'm going to show it here. I don't know if you can see that. Can y'all see?
Renewing Your Mind.
Yes.
Talk about that just briefly if you could. And you can, of course, obviously direct those to your website for that.
Yes. So this is my bestseller. I actually have 4 books out on Amazon.
You have 4 books? Congratulations. I'm just trying to write 2. I'm on our 2. How has that been? Oh, I'm going to have to ask you for tips.
Yeah. So I wrote this back maybe about 3 years ago. This is one of my best sellers. It comes out of what I experienced. So the postpartum depression, not taking care of yourself, inside just giving tips about how to change and renew your mind. So coming from that spiritual place, being transformed, going to a new place. If you want a new mindset, there's some things that you have to do to get there. And so renewing your mind definitely talks about how you can do that.
Awesome. I love it.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time today and for giving a little bit of insight for those that are listening and watching. So thanks again. And I really enjoyed you being on the show.
Thank you so much.
No problem. Thank you. And thank you, audience, a Mindfully Integrative show for joining in. And we appreciate you connecting and hope that you find a mindful way each and every day. Thanks.
Thank you for listening to the Mindfully Integrative show with Dr. Damaris Maria Grossman, family nurse practitioner. This podcast is for informational and educational purposes only and is not the substitute for professional medical advice. Diagnose or treat. Always consult your healthcare provider before making changes to your healthcare routine. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss an episode. If you enjoyed our show, please support us by leaving a mindful review on Apple Podcasts or your favorite streaming platform. Interested in being a guest or more information? Email us at info@mindfullyintegrative.com. For resources mentioned in the show, visit our website at www.mindfullyintegrative.com. You can also connect mindfully with Dr. Damaris on her social media links found on the site. May your strength and peace guide you to find a mindful way every day. Namaste.